Sometimes I talk to people and I ask them, well, so what are you talking about for 3 hours? And they say, well, I don't really know, everything and nothing. Well, no wonder you're falling in love. I was like, hey man, the way you guys are talking, I feel like, do you like him? He's like, I don't like him. He's not my type. He's not my spec and stuff like that. Well, a few months later, fast forward, she reached out and said, actually, I don't know why and where this is coming from, but I feel like I'm actually developing feelings for this guy. Bro, if that person is not somebody you are dating or married to or engaged to, you will sooner or later fall in love. If you don't want to date somebody, that's something you must check. Hi there, welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, my name is Yeboah Sasu, and on this channel I share goal-setting tips, relationship advice, and some in-betweens, all from a Christian perspective. In this video, I'm going to share with you the number one reason why you can easily fall in love with someone you do not love. Recently, I had one of my mentees come to me and tell me about a guy. It's a lady, a guy she has been talking to for a while. And I remember when they started talking and she told me about it. I was like, hey man, the way you guys are talking, I feel like do you like him? He's like, I don't like him. He's not my type. He's not my spec and stuff like that. Well, a few months later, fast forward, she reached out and said, actually, I don't know why and where this is coming from, but I feel like I'm actually developing feelings for this guy. Was I surprised? Absolutely not. Was she surprised? Yes. But guess what? I was surprised that she was surprised, right? And after I explained the reason why I think that happened, she was like, oh man, that makes a lot of sense. Well, fast forward, they started dating, but that didn't go anywhere. But that's my point, okay? I've often thought that, falling in love is really basically having a crush on somebody. That's what really it is. Like, no matter how you call it, it's a crush. I have a whole video on crushes and how to deal with it. And you can check my the videos. I'm going to link it up here so you can actually watch it. And a crush, I've always said that can actually happen at first sight. But it doesn't always happen at first sight. Like my wife, when I had a crush on her, the first time I saw her, I didn't think of anything about her, right? I met her in 2013. I started crushing on her in 2016. 3 years of getting to know each other for a while. And that's what typically happens with me when it comes to my crushes. It typically happens after a while of knowing the person. So what I'm going to share really is not really about, instances where you see someone for the first time and you feel attracted to the person because of their appearance or something you saw them do. This is really more about, and sometimes for that one, this can also apply, but this is really more focused on people that you probably didn't see anything with them, in terms of any romantic attachment. The first time you saw them, but over time, for whatever reason, you start developing feelings for them. And guess what? This can happen with someone that you actually do not love or you don't think is your spec, okay? So we all know, and we've already heard, I'm sure we all know that communication is the lifeline of every relationship. And rightly so. Being a married man, look, the more I stay in touch with my wife, the more in tune we become, the more emotionally connected we become. And it affects every area of our life, right? In the same way, the more we disconnect a little bit, we're not really communicating, we are really argue with each other, we don't want to talk to each other, the more I feel like she's far from me and I don't feel emotionally connected to the person. And this is the same for every kind of relationship. Romantic relationship, family relationship, work relationship, call it whatever, ministry relationship. When you don't talk to someone from time to time, you're going to lose touch with the person. We all know that. But guess what? There are specific components of communication that people don't actually realize, which is what I want to share in this video. And remember, I'm specifically talking about romantic relationship where you end up falling in love or having a crush on someone that especially you didn't even know how you got there. So I developed an acronym to make it easy to remember called FREDCOMOT, okay? FREDCOMOT. So FRE stands for frequency. In other words, how often are you talking to this person? Guess what? The more often you talk to somebody, the more attached you be to the person emotionally, whether you like it or not. It is not rocket science. It is what it is, okay? And so then D stands for duration. How long? The longer you spend talking to somebody, guess what? The more likely you will draw closer to the person emotionally. This is not rocket science at all. So let's take an example. If I'm talking to Lady A every day, and I'm talking to Lady B once a week, generally speaking, you expect me to draw closer emotionally to Lady A than Lady B. But guess what? Let me introduce a new component of duration. Talking to Lady A every day, but for 10 minutes a day, simply because we are work colleagues and I have to see her every day and just say hi to her, stuff like that. Now that context changes everything, right? But I talk to Lady B once a week for 3 hours. We catch up for the whole week. We share our updates. We share our challenges. Guess what? Because of how long we are talking, it actually means that I'll draw closer to Lady B than Lady A. The third component in the FREDCOMOT, which is the CO, is content. What are you talking about? Now guess what, guys? To me, this is the most important component that determines how fast you fall in love with somebody, and all of that. And so with the content, whatever you're talking about really, really matters. Sometimes I talk to people and I ask them, well, so what are you talking about for 3 hours? And they say, well, I don't really know, everything and nothing. Well, no wonder you're falling in love. And so with content, there are about 3 or 4 different kinds of conversations that when you have with someone, you're going to speed up the process of falling in love. So the first one is what I call, secret information. What this means is that you are telling the person stuff that nobody else know about, or you don't tell many people, you don't tell anybody else. Like the person knows all those little details, all those secrets that you have. Well, no matter what, no matter what you do, by the way, I'm talking about opposite sex relationship, you will definitely draw closer to this person sooner and faster, right? The second kind of information is what I call heart issues. And the Bible says in 1 Peter 5:7 that cast all your anxieties or your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Those are what I call heart issues. It can be something trivial or something, major or great. It doesn't matter. As long as it's on your heart. It can be something as well. My mom really talked to me in a way I didn't really like. Can you imagine that? That's your heart issue. It's on your heart. Once you are doing that, you are trying to share that emotional burden and to draw you closer to somebody. It is not, like I said earlier on, rocket science, guys. Let's understand these things. And the next one is sexual content. So this one really means you're talking about, your sexuality, your sexual experiences in the past, your sexual preference. All those things will actually draw you closer faster than you expect, right? And it can spark things that you didn't expect to come at all. And finally is what I call everything and nothing conversation. Like you always talk. Once again, those things can happen once in a while. I'm talking about consistently, right? And so, you're talking and talking and talking about everything, but also about nothing. And the more it happens, the more you draw closer to the person emotionally. Now, MO stands for mode. Mode. In other words, how are you talking? Now, we all know communication goes on verbally, non-verbally, in so many ways. So there are different levels, right? For example, we have the non-verbal, which is like just, I guess, signs, facial expression, in certain context, right? If you are using just non-verbals in general by itself, it's not a big deal. Then we translate it, we now progress to text, okay? So now when you text somebody, it's more intimate than when you're just doing non-verbals in general, okay? I know some non-verbals can be really intimate depending on what it is, but just in general. Then from text, we move to audio. So that can be voice notes or just regular voice calls. And that is more powerful when it comes to emotional attachment compared to text. Then we now move to video calls. Now, it's not just about hearing my voice, but seeing my face. So now seeing my non-verbal cues, as well as, hearing my voice and stuff like that, that is even more powerful. And finally, we have face-to-face interaction or in-person or real interaction. That's the most powerful. So the mode that you use to talk to this person, if there's a multiplicity of these modes, it actually draws you closer. And the closer it gets to real in-person conversations, the more powerful it is. And finally, the T stands for time. When are you talking? Now, this one is one of the biggest, right? So you find out, when I talk to clients, especially ladies who come for pre-dating coaching, I encourage them to have boundaries when it comes to, even for guys as well, when it comes to, talking to the opposite sex at the time of the day that you talk to the opposite sex, right? Now, as I work with, singles on pre-dating coaching and guiding them to prepare for dating in the biblical way, one of the things that I encourage them to do is to set boundaries when it comes to, especially with the time of the day that you choose to talk to someone of the opposite sex. Now, there's one lady I was talking to a while ago, and she was telling me, that she was talking to this guy all the way through to 1 a.m. And this is your friend, and you're in bed lying down, relaxed, with a nice, cozy voice. All of this is setting up the atmosphere, right? It's going to make it more difficult for you to distance yourself emotionally from this person if you don't want to. And so at the time of the day is really important. The later the conversations, the more intimate it is. When I was when I was a teenager, I remember in Ghana, where I come from, we used to have MTN brought something that they call free line calls, where, you can call anybody for free on the network, MTN, from I think 12 midnight to 5 a.m. Man, that was some time, right? A lot of conversations went on. Even for me, that wasn't really healthy, right? And so the later the conversation, the more intimate it becomes. Now, hear me. What I'm not saying is if these things happen once in a while, sometimes you have to call someone midnight because it's an emergency or something really important. Maybe it's a project work for school and you have a deadline to meet the next day. That makes sense. It's all about consistency. No, but if it's about a personal, one-on-one, ongoing conversation, then that one is serious. The key here is not so much about intensity, but it's more about consistency. And guess what? When you combine all these factors, it becomes powerful. So let's say if you're talking to somebody every day, you're talking to the person 1 hour a day, you are talking about everything and nothing, right? You are trying to do FaceTime a lot if you are distant in terms of geographical location, or if you are in person, you meet a lot, or even do combination of both, and you talk any time of the day. Bro, if that person is not somebody you are dating, or married to, or engaged to, you will sooner or later fall in love. And sometimes people tell me, oh, well, we've been doing that, just a good friend. Well, sometimes think about the other person. One of you, if not the two of you at least, will likely fall in love. So I hope this will encourage you to understand that this is just wisdom to put in all this. The Bible says you guard our heart with all diligence, from out of it come the issues of life. If you don't want to date somebody, that's something you must check, okay? Make sure that you are checking all these things. If you feel like you're talking too much every day, reduce it. check it. And that's why it's also helpful to get guidance, to get coaching, to get a mentor that can guide you through these issues. Now, on the flip side, if you are dating somebody, what we expect in general is that if you want to be in a healthy relationship, you need to do more of this actually, right? That's the opposite. So you need to make sure you're talking a lot, frequency, duration, content, time. Of course, you still have to put boundaries and stuff because you're not married yet, and all of that. But in general, when someone that you are dating is not talking to you, like it's not frequently talking to you, it's giving excuses, maybe they are not interested or they are losing interest. So that's something on the flip side, even though I know it's not the main purpose of this video, I think that can be helpful to somebody. Hey, so the next time you feel like you are falling in love with someone, you don't know what happened, check with these metrics. Trust me, more often than not, 99% of the time, you find that what I'm saying is absolutely true, right? And so I hope this helps you to be able to make some good, better decisions going forward when it comes to your heart. You need to guard your heart because you don't want to just fall in love with just anybody, and you don't want to fall in love when you're not ready to fall in love because it will likely lead you into going into a relationship prematurely, which may not help you. It may lead you to get involved with the person sexually, which you don't want to. You want to glorify God, obviously, right? Or it may even eventually destroy a friendship because then it will become so awkward you can't keep the innocence in the friendship anymore. All right, let me know what you think in the comment section. Is there something you agree with, something you disagree with? Is there something you feel like I should have added, I did not add? What do you think about the Fred Commod's approach? Does that help you to understand your situation? I want to know in the comment section. So please drop it there. Don't forget to like this video, share with friends, anybody who that person who needs to send it to the person, and subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you in the next one. What a job.